Hello everybody, it is DarkCon. I just had a little bit something on my mind that I had to get off of my chest before I went out and do my party plans and so on and so forth. So this video is going to be a little bit more ranty than the usual videos that I do, but there's something that is really bugging me, is the claim that Obama, and this is going to shock maybe a few people, especially some of my personal friends on Facebook if they heard this claim. But there are a lot of people, surprisingly, who are claiming that Barack Obama, former President Barack Obama, is a right-winger. Yeah, utterly ridiculous in my opinion as well. I mean, are people not keeping in consideration all of his political beliefs, like particularly his economic beliefs, because he was anything but an economic libertarian. And from my perspective on the way that I view left versus right politics is that the more and more for economic freedom and lower taxes you are, the more right-leaning you are. And the more and more for government control in the economy that you are, and the higher taxes you are for, the more left-leaning you are. And let's keep Obama's positions in perspective as he was touting them out, running his campaigns, and all the policies that he put in place in his presidency, for example. He was for higher taxes. He was for higher taxes, he was for a higher minimum wage, he was for higher welfare, and let's not forget Obamacare. I know people say that that's not really left-wing. I mean, it doesn't compare anything to single-payer healthcare when it comes to a left-wing economic policy, but it's certainly not right-wing. I mean, for example, Obamacare has the regulation of forcing employers who have over 50 employees to cover their employees even if they didn't want to. That seems a kind of left-leaning when it comes to economic policy. When you are invading in on somebody's private property rights, their own business rights to run their business as they please, and you say, no, you gotta provide health care. We do not care about your private property rights in this instance. You gotta provide them health insurance. Not to mention the higher regulations and taxes that he imposed during his administration, the offshore drilling oil ban, or offshore oil drilling ban, excuse me, as I try and collect my words. He wasn't exactly the most outspoken of capitalism all around. Let's keep that in mind. I mean, I don't hear him speaking a whole lot of things in favor of free market economics and private property rights and so forth. In fact, what I do recall is him saying, in reference to business owners, you didn't build that. Yeah, you didn't build that. Somebody else made that happen, you know? That good old quote during his presidency. I mean, that sounds like something that is more along the lines that I expect from a full-on socialist. That's like Owen McDonald type territory right there. Now, I'm not saying that he is a full-on socialist. Keep in mind, I mean, as far as I know, he wasn't of the full-on Marxist-Leninist type of socialist, but he has some socialist empathies, like that quote that I just pulled for you right there. I mean, the only right-leaning economic policy that I can probably mention off of the top of my head is possibly free trade. Like, I don't know this for certain, but I think I might have heard it at one point or another that he helped strengthen NAFTA and TPP and so on and so forth. So I haven't researched much into that, but I kind of just give that the benefit of the doubt. But that's one issue. That would be one issue that he is right-leaning on when it comes to economics. In fact, that would make him more right-leaning than Trump when it comes to economics in that one particular area, when it comes to free trade. So, and this is not keeping into account all of his social policies. I mean, what about immigration? What about gun rights? What about abortion? What about when it comes to race issues and all of his race baiting and so forth, and pandering to people's hatred of the police and so on and so forth? I mean, forget his economic policies. I mean, if you were to combine all of his economic policies and his social policies together, he is not very right-leaning. And also, he was outspoken for gay marriage as well. I mean, Hillary Clinton, I mean, have her all you want. I mean, I pretty much don't believe her beliefs when it comes to gay marriage. I mean, practically nobody does. But Obama, I don't think there's a person out there who hardly doubts his position when it comes to homosexuality. Actually, no, now that I think about it, I think there was a point in time when he was for keeping it between a man and woman. I don't know. Never mind. Give the benefit of the doubt on that as well. But that's one social issue that somebody could suspect that he is right-leaning on. And free trade, that's the one issue that somebody could say that he's economically right-leaning on. But compare those two out of the whole myriad of other policies that he supported / implemented during his presidency. It gets dwarfed by all the rest of that I just mentioned. He is not a right-winger. What is one of the biggest reasons of why that he is considered a right-winger? Is it because of his corporatist beliefs? I mean, I do not know specifically of how corporatist Obama was. I mean, what bank bailouts he might have instituted and so on and so forth. But I definitely hear it from people saying that both the establishment GOP and the establishment Democrats, they're both far right when it comes to economics because of corporatism. As if implying that corporatism is inherently a right-wing thing. I mean, first off, the claim that both the establishment GOP and the establishment Democrats are far right when it comes to economics seems utterly ridiculous to me. I mean, when somebody says that raises an instant red flag in my head, and I go thinking to myself, oh, so wait, you're saying that the Democrats empathize with Republicans? Are you saying that Democrats are all for deregulating coal, oil, they're for allowing people to discriminate and deny service as they want? Are you saying that they are against raising the minimum wage just like the Republicans? Are you saying that they are for lowering welfare? I mean, it's utterly ridiculous. I mean, Republicans are not exactly the most outspoken when it comes to economics, for free market economics, I mean, themselves, but still, the point still being, Democrats are not exactly the most economically libertarian. So to say that both the establishment GOP and establishment Democrats are far right on economics is ridiculous. And one of the reasons why I heard that the person claimed that they are far right when it comes to economics is because of corporatism. Again, coming back to this. I mean, corporatism is government involvement into the economy to help advantage the big corporations. Like, for example, big bank bailouts, so big subsidies, big business subsidies, and just making all around an uneven playing field for the corporations over everyone else, not free market. And if you have government involvement to help anybody at all, really, I mean, especially to like give a market advantage to big corporations over everyone else, then that is a government involvement. It doesn't make it far right if you are for corporatism. It doesn't make you far right if you are for corporatism. I mean, here's the question that I want to pose, honestly. If corporatism is far right, well then what is anarcho-capitalism? Because as far as I know, anarcho-capitalism is the furthest right when it gets to economics. I mean, social issues, that's a little bit of a different issues. On social issues, anarcho-capitalists, you could argue, are socially more left than corporatists and corporatist Republicans are, for example. But still, economically, if corporatists are far right-wing, then does that mean that anarcho-capitalists are not far right-wing when it comes to economics? I mean, does it mean that Milton Friedman is not right-wing when it comes to economics? I mean, I do not know this for absolute certain, but I highly doubt that Milton Friedman was would be for something like bank bailouts around the 2008 economics crash. Computer fell asleep there. Anyway, that's all that I have to say. I mean, it's just a false dichotomy, it seems to me, to be calling Obama a right-winger and corporatist far right when it comes to economic. I mean, the best that you could say that corporatism is like centrism. Maybe a little bit leaning to the left, a little bit leaning to the right, but it's not of the extreme of either side when it comes to economics, in my opinion, because you still have government involvement, but at the same time, you still have government, semi-capitalist freedoms for the big corporations. And there was also something else. The claim that Hillary Clinton is right-wing. I mean, she is not all that right-wing herself. I mean, let's keep in mind her stance when it comes to gun rights and abortion. I mean, yes, nobody believes her when it comes to gay marriage, but she is not the most outspoken for free market economics herself as well. I mean, it roots back down to corporatism as well. I mean, the most that you could call Hillary Clinton is an unprincipled centrist. Just a centrist. Not necessarily of any principle, really. She just goes with the wind, you know. Whatever the political winds might be favoring. And so on and so forth. One of the arguments that I also heard to try and make the claim that that Obama is a right-winger is in comparison to the rest of the world. If anything, I think Obama, falls fairly in step with the rest of the world. Like a single payer, yeah, I mean, that's the exception. Single payer healthcare, that's a bit of the exception. But Obamacare, let's keep in mind, is not exactly right-wing itself. It's corporatist, but it is not right-wing. It's not economically libertarian. And so, I'm starting to lose my train of thought here, sorry. But if the entire rest of the world is left-wing when it comes to economics, and that's the standard that you're going to go off of by, is that compared to the rest of the world, that Obama is right-wing. Well, that does not say that Obama is necessarily right-wing. It just means that the majority of the world is left-wing when it comes to economics. And Obama, he may not compare much when it comes to economics of how left-wing a person can be, but he's still pretty left-wing. Again, Obama, not an economic libertarian, not a very right-wing guy. I mean, the most you could say is that he's center-left and not far-left. But yeah, that's all I have to say in this video. Sorry that it was a little bit rambly and a little bit lengthy, but that's all that I have to say. I am Zach the Dark Conservatarian, and I'll see y'all later in the next video.